The morning sun rises slowly over a small Filipino town where life moves at the rhythm of hard work and quiet hope. Narrow streets wake up with the sound of roosters crowing, motorcycles passing by, and the unmistakable echo of a hammer striking wood. In a tiny roadside workshop made of rusted tin sheets and worn-out planks, a carpenter begins his day long before the rest of the world notices. His hands are rough, cracked, and stained with years of labor. Each strike of the hammer is not just building furniture, it is building survival. Beside the workshop, a young boy sits on an overturned wooden crate. His clothes are faded, his slippers worn thin at the soles, but his eyes shine with something rare. While his father measures wood and tightens nails, the boy hums softly to himself. There is no microphone, no stage, no audience, only dust floating in the sunlight and a dream too big for words. He pretends a broken piece of wood is a guitar, holding it close to his chest as if it were something precious. This boy is the son of a poor carpenter. Music is not a luxury his family can afford. There are no vocal coaches, no fancy instruments, no soundproof rooms. What he has instead are long days watching his father work under the scorching heat, and long nights listening to his parents talk quietly about bills they cannot pay. Yet somehow, through all of that struggle, a song has found its way into his heart. Every day after school, instead of playing games, the boy returns to the workshop. He helps sweep sawdust from the floor, carries small pieces of wood, and hands tools to his father. And while he works, he sings. Sometimes it is an old Filipino ballad his mother loves. Sometimes it is a song he heard on a neighbor's radio. His voice is soft but emotional, carrying pain far beyond his age. Customers passing by slow down. Some stop, a few listen, but most just walk on, unaware that greatness is quietly growing in the shadow of poverty. At night their home is small, just a few rooms with thin walls that do little to block the sounds of the outside world. Rain leaks through the roof during storms, electricity comes and goes. But when everything is quiet, the boy sings again. His father listens from another room, pretending not to hear, afraid that encouraging such dreams might only lead to disappointment. He knows the world is cruel to poor boys with big hopes. Years ago, against all odds, that same boy stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage for the first time. He was younger then, nervous, thin, shaking as he stood under lights brighter than anything he had ever seen. His clothes were simple, his accent was strong, his story was heavy, but when he sang, something magical happened. The judges listened, the audience felt something real. For a brief moment, the world saw him. But dreams do not always come true overnight. After the applause faded and the cameras turned off, reality returned. The boy went back home to the same dusty workshop, the same leaking roof, the same daily struggle. Fame did not knock on his door. Money did not rain from the sky. Life tested him harder than before. People told him it was time to grow up, to stop dreaming, to help his father full time. So he did. He put his dream aside and picked up the hammer. Days turned into years. The boy grew into a young man. His hands became rough like his father's. His shoulders bent under responsibility. He worked long hours cutting wood, sanding boards, lifting heavy furniture. Music became something he carried silently in his heart, a memory of who he once was. Sometimes when no one was around, he would still sing, but only softly, afraid to hope again. There were nights when hunger sat at the dinner table with them. Nights when his father apologized for not being able to give him more. Nights when the young man lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if the world had already decided his fate. Was he meant to spend his entire life surrounded by sawdust and unfinished dreams? Yet destiny has a strange way of calling back those who try to ignore it. One evening, after a long day of work, the young man hears a familiar tune playing from an old television. It's America's Got Talent. He watches performers chase dreams he once dared to dream. His heart tightens. His father notices the silence, the way his son's eyes lock onto the screen. For the first time in years, the carpenter speaks softly. If you still have that voice, don't waste it. Those words change everything. With borrowed money, old clothes, and a heart full of fear, the carpenter's son decides to try once more. This time, not as a child with hope, but as a man shaped by struggle. Every step toward the audition feels heavy. He carries his family's sacrifices on his back. He carries his father's worn hands in his memory. When he finally arrives at the America's Got Talent stage again, it feels unreal. The lights are brighter, the room is bigger, the stakes are higher. He stands backstage, breathing slowly, gripping a small necklace his mother gave him for luck. Around him are singers trained by the best, dressed in confidence and polish. He has none of that, only truth. As his name is called, the doors open. The carpenter's son steps forward. The audience sees a quiet young man, simple, serious, unassuming. But inside him is a lifetime of pain, hope, sacrifice, and love, waiting to be released through one song. And somewhere at the judge's table, Simon Cowell looks up, unaware that the next few minutes are about to change everything. The bright stage lights hit him like a wave. For a moment, the young man, the carpenter's son, blinks, adjusting to the overwhelming glow. The audience is a blur of faces, yet each one seems to be staring right at him. Cameras roll, capturing every heartbeat. The judges lean forward in anticipation. And in the midst of it all, he feels a familiar flutter of fear, like he did years ago, but this time it's heavier. This time it's personal. He clutches the microphone with both hands, the metal cold but steady in his grip. He opens his mouth to speak, but the words that escape are soft, almost trembling. This song is for my father, for my family, for everyone who's ever been told their dreams are too big. The theater goes silent. Not a cough, not a shuffle, only the hum of anticipation. It's as if the world itself is holding its breath. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and begins to sing. At first, the notes are fragile, soft, vulnerable. But as he warms into the song, something extraordinary happens. The air thickens with emotion. Each lyric carries a story of struggle, a story of a boy who grew up in a small town with nothing but hope in his pockets, whose father labored from dawn to dusk to feed his family, whose mother quietly sacrificed dreams of her own to keep the family together. Every line feels like a memory. Nights spent singing alone under a leaking roof, days spent sanding wood alongside his father, moments of hunger and longing. His voice, raw yet controlled, weaves pain and hope together in a way that goes beyond technique or training. It's pure truth. The camera pans across the audience, eyes widen, faces soften, some mouths hang open in disbelief. Tears begin to shine on cheeks. The world outside the theater has never seen anything like this. A voice that doesn't just sing notes, but tells a life story. On the judges' panel, Simon Cowell shifts in his seat. At first his expression is neutral, evaluative, calculating. But then, as the boy hits a particularly heartfelt line, Simon's forehead furrows, his jaw tightens, his eyes glisten. Something in that voice pierces him, the unpolished honesty, the struggle made audible, the humility of someone who has lived and suffered and still dares to dream. Halfway through the song, the young man's voice cracks, not out of fear, not out of nervousness, but because the truth of his story is too heavy, too real, and it demands release. It's the moment when art becomes life. The audience catches it immediately. A collective intake of breath. Some hands clutch at hearts, some wipe tears, and in that instant, time seems to slow. He opens his eyes. For the first time on stage, he dares to look at the audience, not to perform for applause, but to connect. He sees young parents holding their children, elderly couples nodding knowingly, and strangers who have never known him, yet somehow feel his pain. He sings the bridge, and his voice rises, not in volume, but in emotion. Every note trembles with the weight of years of hard work and sacrifice. The song tells of a boy who promised his father he would succeed, of a family struggling but unbroken, of dreams deferred but never extinguished. It is a song of love, resilience, and redemption. Simon leans forward. His arms rest on the judge's table. His usual stern expression has melted into something rare, vulnerability. He listens intently, captivated by the story woven into the music. His eyes are no longer just observing, they are witnessing. He sees the journey, the struggle, the sacrifices, the dreams deferred, and the courage it took to return to this stage. A single tear escapes and slides down his cheek, glinting under the studio lights. The song reaches its climax. The young man's voice soars not with showmanship, but with truth. The audience is on its feet, some crying, some whispering, some holding on to the person next to them as if to anchor themselves in the beauty of the moment. Each note resonates in the theater, bouncing off the walls, penetrating hearts, lingering long after it ends. The final note hangs in the air. Silence follows. Not uncomfortable silence, but a reverent pause, as if everyone collectively recognizes that they have just witnessed something extraordinary. For a heartbeat, nobody moves, nobody breathes. The moment is suspended, delicate and sacred. Then, the applause erupts. A thunderous, overwhelming wave of standing ovation. It shakes the theater. It shakes the stage. It shakes him. He stands frozen, chest heaving, overwhelmed not by applause but by the realization that he has shared his soul with the world, and the world has understood. Simon Cowell rises, uncharacteristically. His voice is thick with emotion as he speaks. This is why this show exists. This is what talent really is. Not just technique, not just performance, but truth, courage, and heart. You've done something extraordinary. He wipes his eyes discreetly, but it's too late. The cameras have caught it. The world has caught it. Millions of viewers at home feel the weight of the moment. The boy who once sang alone in a dusty workshop has made Simon Cowell cry, and not because of theatrics, but because of the raw, unfiltered beauty of a life expressed through song. Backstage, his father watches on a monitor. Tears stream down his face. His hands tremble. Years of hard work. Years of sacrifice, all culminating in this one moment. The boy, now a young man, has fulfilled a promise, not just to himself, but to the family that believed in him when no one else would. As the cameras pan over the audience, some are crying openly, some are speechless, some are clapping with hands over their hearts. Social media will erupt in minutes. Headlines will read about the Filipino boy who made Simon Cowell cry. But in this theater, in this sacred moment, it's not about fame or clicks. It's about a human connection that transcends language, culture, and circumstance. The young man lowers the microphone. The final note fades like a whisper. He closes his eyes, letting the emotions wash over him. For a moment, he is not a contestant. He is not performing. He is just a boy from a small town, finally seen, finally heard, finally validated. The world has stopped to listen, and it will not forget.